from the Society of Edmonton Atheists. Luke, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you.
You've been quite outspoken, I know, in your circles when it comes to this office. What would you say is the main problem that you have with this newly established Office of Religious Freedom?
Well, I think there are a number of concerns for the non-religious community. The first is that this office seems to be, of course, a cynical attempt to gain religious votes. But if we skip by that, if we look at what underlies the Foreign Affairs Minister's agenda here with the office, it seems to be favouring religion hugely and disregarding the non-religious. When we look at the world, there are tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, of non-religious people persecuted, denied rights, and the Foreign Affairs Minister has said some concerning things that would suggest that he cares about their rights and their persecution less than those of religious minorities.
Now, you're talking about, of course, Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird. This, the Ambassador for Religious Freedom, established in a sense as part of the mandate to criticize other countries' lack of protection for religious minorities. Now, as we take a look around the world, there are numerous case studies, of course, where we see a lack of religious freedom, and in some cases, people pay for it with their lives.
Absolutely.
Would you say that there are issues that exist as well here on Canadian soil?
Yes, there are. I mean, if we're going to be committed to equality of religion, especially looking out for religious minorities and the non-religious, of course, Canada has been censured twice by the United Nations Human Rights Committee for our Catholic school system, which is an obvious privilege of one religious over minority religions. Again, here we see the denial of charter rights for school children here in Alberta, where we have the segregation for Christian prayer in public schools. We also see secular organizations being penalized versus religious organizations with funding, tax. And then there's the very real problem that we have that exists even here in Alberta and in the United States, where non-religious people can be ostracized by their families, by their communities, for becoming non-religious, for apostasy, for leaving the religion of their families.
Is this the type of thing where, I mean, you talk about being ostracized, is this something where you personally have experienced what you might even phrase it, is it dramatic to call it persecution, or in some sense at least those folks sharing their opinions with you regarding your beliefs in a way that you don't believe ever would happen if somebody was talking about Judaism or Islam or Christianity or Buddhism?
There is a double standard in our society where if you are seen to criticize religion in some way, shape or form, somehow that's considered rude, when I think the non-religious and certainly atheists like myself are really just looking for a constructive conversation about the truth, values and the merits of religion.
Now, I know that Ricky Gervais, the comedian, is certainly not the spokesperson of all atheists, but he's quite outspoken when it comes to his perspectives. Now, one thing that I've always wondered when listening to Mr. Gervais is it not the practice of a freedom of religion in a way to adopt a philosophy of atheism? I mean, is your religion, in a sense, or as you said, your non-religious perspective, are you not practicing that in the same way that somebody that adopts a religion may be doing at the same time? In other words, are we not all in the same boat here in Canada?
No, and one of the roles of the Society of Edmonton Atheists is really to help educate the public in general, and certainly those of faith, in exactly what atheism is and is not. Atheism per se is simply a lack of belief in a theistic
So,
God.
Luke, what would you have liked to see then? And this is the last question we have time for. I know we could talk for half an hour, but what would you have liked to see in the establishment of this office?
I would like to have seen a real concern for the rights of both the non-religious and the religious. You know, the atheists, I think, share an affinity to the gay community in some respects, in that we know that there are tens of millions of people hiding in closets, scared to come out, being denied their rights for fear of persecution at the hands of religion and the religious, both abroad and here in Canada.
Luke Fevin, representing the Society of Edmonton Atheists this morning. Thanks for joining us and helping spur on a conversation that will no doubt continue. You can get in on that conversation by connecting